John is the one that wrote it. John is the one who wrote Revelation. The same John who we know wrote the Gospel of John. Okay, same guy, same dude. John presents himself more as a recipient and recorded visions than as the author of Revelation's message. Okay, so of course, like in the Gospel of John, it's like in the action, right? And in Revelation, he's also like in the action, but you can sense that it's more like kind of from afar, and he's just kind of like seeing what happens. At least that's what I got when I was reading it. It was written to first century churches, so the immediate audience is always the audience that's alive during that time, the people that are going to read the letter out loud after he's written it. But the audience is also for us, Christians who are here on earth right now today, because this is kind of like future type of oriented. And so you can see how he's talking about events that will happen later in time. And for us, those events are still happening or happening later in time. So this is important too. Christians have always faced persecution. And even we don't see a lot of it here in the US. We do see some of it, but I don't think we see a lot of it when you compare it to the type of persecution that's in other parts of the world. And so here, persecution was also going on in like the area of the churches that it was written to. So that was on their mind. This apocalyptic literature, it's like an unveiling of things, spiritual realities. It's prophetic. So you're doing, talking about future events, but also kind of like what's currently happening. And then this is really what we need to remember. Okay, symbolism and numbers. Symbolism, especially in numbers. So let's look at this. Look at these. Go to first. Okay, symbols in Revelation. This is really good. Angels are messengers. Whenever you see a throne, easy to think, okay, somebody ruling. Whenever you see God sitting on his throne, that means that God is ruling over people. The rainbow means God's covenant to preserve a remnant. So you think about Noah and the flood, right? And so whenever you see a rainbow in Scripture, that's what it alludes to. Eyes are like witness or insight. What's that book? Great Gatsby and those eyes, right? Is that what it means in that book too? Right? Like kind of like observing stuff, seeing stuff, or like witnessing stuff that's happening. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. But in biblical, that's what it means, okay? Crown meaning rule or sovereignty. And then horn meaning power, victory, strength. So this is funny. Like, you think like of rams, right? And you think, oh, okay, that means like power because they have like horns. And then like, okay, so I've been like super into like Avengers recently. So like me and Jess, we've been watching the entire Infinity Saga since like March or something like that. So like we've just like
that's last month.
Yeah, it's been nuts. It's been crazy. We've been trying to finish it by Easter. I finished it yesterday. Jess fell asleep, but she'll have to watch it later. Anyways, Endgame is like right on my mind, right? You know Loki? That guy, he has like those, his thing is like those horns, right? Symbolizing power and strength.
You should watch his show.
I did. Yes. Good. Yeah, good. Very good. Anyways, yes. All this, yes. Loki's hat. It's like horns, you know, power and strength. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
His hat. Yeah. Okay, here. Numbers.
I didn't see horns in the
Numbers. 7 is divine completeness and holiness. Okay, this is super important for today, all right? Super important. Just remember that. 12 is the people of God. 4 is createdness of the created world. Okay, sorry. Let's talk about this. 12 for the people of God. You think about like the 12 tribes of Israel. You think about the 12 apostles. So that's kind of like where that symbolism comes in. For 4, completeness of the created world. You think about like the north, south, east, west, kind of like that it goes all over the place of the world. You think about like, I guess, like what, sky, the elements or something like that? I'm not sure. And then sky, yes. And then humanity and rebellion is symbolized in 6. Also super important for today, all right? So think about this, think about how they relate to each other. All right, now this is great right here. Okay, now. Revelation was read aloud All right, and so you think, right? John's writing this down, and then it needs to get disseminated to the different churches. Probably at that time, they're like probably making copies. I would imagine, okay, because it needs to get to all these different churches. Now, as they're reading it, it's not like everybody gets a copy, right? One dude probably has to keep that copy and like protect it with his life or whatever, and then like he's reading it to the churches. So if I was that guy, I would be reading the book to you guys, and you would be sitting there listening. And so you can see how like, okay, they're probably not like paying attention super hardcore to the little details because they're just taking it all in. Now, of course, the way God writes is that all those details really do matter. But for the people that are listening, it's probably just happening so fast in their mind that it's like, okay, like let me just get the big picture. So I think, it's more like get the impression of it, get the vibe of it, and what do you feel when you're reading this? And then also, these people that were reading it, the churches were mixed with Jews and Gentiles. Now, the Gentiles, they probably wouldn't know too much of the Old Testament literature, but the Jews, they'd probably be super well-versed in the Old Testament literature. So all of the symbols and allusions and even like these numbers, like it would be clicking for them. They would be understanding this stuff. It's not like us where we're like super far removed from it. No, for them, when they're listening, they'd be like, oh, I know what that means. They get it. So I was watching Endgame, right? And I love this movie because there's a lot of callbacks to previous movies, right? So like, who has not watched Endgame at all? Man, dude. Okay, spoilers then. Okay, I'm not going to spoil this. I'm not going to spoil it for you because it's not great. Okay, you should watch it. But like, stuff happens that like happens in previous movies. So if you've watched those previous movies, if you like know what it's referring to, then you're like, oh, mind blown, right? Whereas if you don't know what happened in previous movies, you're like, oh, okay, cool, like whatever, like, and you still get the point of what they're trying to communicate, but you wouldn't know like the in-depth like meaning and like feeling and emotions behind some of like the lines or stuff or actions that happen. Anyways, good stuff right here, okay? I call it callbacks. Like when people are writing their scripts for the movies, like this, okay man, like I watch even like the commentary tracks for the movies, right? So like, it's really good because they explain like, okay, yeah, like we looked at this line and we were like, yeah, he said that line over there, we could put it over here, or this character, he could do this over here. So when the screenwriters or the directors or whoever are like making their movie, they're able to say, oh, yeah, when we put this in here, it's like a callback to this instance, and that will like affect people's emotions when they're watching it, and that's how you make like kind of good stuff in art. I think you can do callbacks like that. So the Bible does it too. All right. I think in this book she calls it like looking back, but for our sake today, I'm just going to call it callbacks. I think it's easy to remember that. Like something will happen in Revelation, and if you know your Old Testament, or if you've read it before, you'll be like, oh, I know what that is. And it doesn't change the meaning for people who don't know what that is, but for people who do know what it is, it like enhances it, or it makes it like more hardcore, more awesome.